Right.
Jobs. Now, you're going to get folks who will say, well, Kris, they don't want to work. They don't want this. They don't want that. They're out killing each other. Well, I can say that there are people in this country, when things don't go their way, when they don't have stuff, they act differently. Some people lose, their candidate doesn't win for president. They might tear things up, right? So imagine if all of a sudden you don't have a way to feed your family, there are no jobs around you. You know, maybe your parents went through the same thing, right? So maybe they were, maybe they never got the therapy they needed. So maybe your childhood was a little, tough. Didn't have the same parenting generations ago.
Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is. I'm talking about the best podcast in the world. This is business-tainment. This is what we do, man. It's not left, it's not right, it's just life. This is how we do it. But you know what? If you want to keep seeing amazing content, amazing people like we have on today, you know what you got to do. Subscribe to the YouTube page. I keep saying like, share, subscribe, comment. YouTube at CV space K. That's Cody Vernon space Kelly. YouTube CV space K. Also, where the best supplements are. Come on now, I brought the pre-workout with me. Super Power, get it today. We got the branched chain amino acids. We got Saucy. We got Super Thick Creatine. We have the vegan proteins transform. Only at www.cvmkglobal.store. Follow the business page at CVMK_global. And It Is What It Is page. I want to say on Patreon. And I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh yeah. I forgot the podcast is on Instagram now. On It Is What It Is _podcast. All the links, I'm sure, will be visible when you see this. And connect with your boy also on TikTok at CVMK Global. Well, it's Globe because they wouldn't let me add the AL because I ran out of characters. That's TikTok stuff. But anyway, I look forward to connecting with you. But I have an amazing episode today featuring somebody that is running for Alderman. And is it Chicago's 5th Ward?
It is Chicago's 5th Ward.
Chicago's 5th Ward. Kris Levy. And with that being said, Kris, how you doing today?
Man, I'm wonderful, man. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Your intro should get everybody fired up. Shout out to your sponsor for keeping the community in shape. That's a good ad, brother. That's a good look.
Hey, man, I'm trying, man. And what I realized, if they won't give you the ingredients, you got to buy your own, man. So, doing what I do here. But look, Kris, before we get into it, tell the people a little bit about yourself, and then, we'll hit the line of questions.
Cool. Hopefully they'll take it easy on me because I let it be known. First off, I'm running for Alderman here in Chicago, 5th Ward of Chicago, which encompasses South Shore, parts of South Shore, parts of Woodlawn, parts of Hyde Park. If you're familiar with Chicago, it's a beautiful area. I think it's one of the most beautiful in the city. It's home to the University of Chicago. In the Woodlawn area. Hyde Park is one of probably the most diverse community in the state of Illinois. I live in an area of South Shore, which is where the Obama Center will be built. It is truly a gem among gems, but as a lot of larger cities across the country, it has its share of what I'd like to call opportunities or issues.
That's true. Look, I appreciate that. We're going to get into why you're running and
Sure.
Hopefully trying to build some knowledge and insight into this whole campaign. But before we do that,
I wasn't trying to dodge that. I mean,
you're good. You're good.
I wanted to set up first where it is, and why I'm running. There is a certain element of public safety that I'm concerned about. I am a married father of 3 girls. Mm-hmm. I'm not a politician. Well, I guess technically I'm in the race, so technically I'm entering that fray, but this is not due for a 9 to 5. I'm just a concerned citizen who's tired of seeing certain things in his community. And I feel given success that I've had in other areas of life, it lends itself, to be successful here. And truthfully, I think you need somebody different who's not part of the so-called Chicago, system.
I like it. I like it. Look, before we go any further, just a quick word from our sponsors.
There's a hero in all of us waiting to be unleashed. All it takes is just that one last push. Activate the hero within with CVMK Global Supplements. All natural, steroid free, designed to enhance performance, build muscle, and increase energy. You are unstoppable. You can do this. Become your own hero at www.cvmkglobal.store.
Awesome, and we're back again. Look, so I always ask, I don't care who it is, and if you go back over every podcast, whether I agree, disagree, indifferent, I always want to know why. Why does anybody do what they do? Right? Whether it's a pastor, whether it's a fitness influencer, instructor, trainer, what is you said you were a concerned citizen. What is your why behind running for the Alderman of the 5th Ward?
Sure. I think we have a violence issue, right?
Sure.
And I think year after year, I've watched, at least in this area, there was an incumbent who'd been here 19 years.
Oh, wow.
And this is a similar case across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Watched conditions get worse year after year after year. And I've seen some positions, whether it be mayor or surrounding areas, other aldermen.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a lot of the same types of people, right? I'd like to think that these folk have good intentions when they start, but I know that, and I can say this, as soon as I said I was running, everyone who's ever volunteered, knows a politician, ever been in a room with politicians, said, well, who do you know? Well, who's going to back you? And who do you got behind you? And being a novice to this, I'm like, well, are they voting in this ward? Should I be concerned? Why do I need them? Because as far as I'm concerned, anytime I voted, I didn't have somebody whispering in my ear. Sure, they may have, they put a lot of ad monies behind them, but I think what happens is when someone not in your area helps you get to office, then your interests or their interests become your interests. And instead of taking care of a community, you're voting on issues that have nothing to do with your community because your alderman is now concerned about keeping his or her job versus taking care of the marginalized, which I think I am here for. And truth be told, I'm going to continue the economic development in Hyde Park, lawn. I'd like to see more of that in South Shore, but make no mistake, I'm running because I think there are people who don't necessarily, I don't like to say they don't care about, they don't make issues in primarily South Shore a large enough concern for my liking. I don't like being somewhere when my mother, she drives by my house to go home. If she needs gas, I tell her to stop at my house because like a lot of major cities, they're carjackings because I have to go pump gas for them. Right. And I didn't grow up like that, so I know it's possible. So I'm here because I think I'm outside of the Chicago political circle. And I think you need somebody who can bring fresh air to that, who has the intelligence, who can get the ear of the people in the streets, and who can get resources to the community that maybe other people can't get.
I like that. I think there's a lot to unpack there. Twofold. First, sometimes we think that one position can do everything, right? So sometimes we like to blame all of Chicago's problems on the mayor, but the mayor doesn't have absolute power. Right. There are committees, subcommittees, there's aldermans, there's a whole process that goes into this monster, right? So before what specifically does an alderman do? I think, and then my second part of my second follow-up is once we understand like what an alderman is responsible, an alderperson is responsible for, how does being outside of the normal status quo make you more of an interest? So we'll begin first. Like, what is the responsibility of an alderperson?
Sure. Similar to a mayor who takes care of a city, right? The well-being of a city and all the people who live within it. Job opportunities for that city. For those who need help with maybe educational financing, maybe businesses need funding, small businesses, creating jobs. An alderman's job is very similar to that, but for a specific smaller geographical area. In this city, there are 50 alderpersons. Those alderpersons are responsible for their particular ward. In each ward, they're broken down into districts. Recently, every 10 years, they do a redistricting or remapping of the wards. The fifth ward has 25 districts down from 41. So lesser districts, a little bit less people. But the problem is, or the duties of an alderman range from how are the businesses thriving? Are they growing in your area? Small businesses are the lifeblood to a lot of communities. How's the public safety in your community? Is it going up? Is it better? Are there more shootings? Are there less shootings? Are there more deaths? Are there less deaths? In terms of education, how are the students faring? Are test scores going up or going down? Are the students, how are they faring in high school? What percent are going to high school? Are they going to college? Are we entering the trades? Are we not entering the trades? What's the well-being? Obviously, part of every large city, you have a marginalized community. Is there help for, substance abuse? Is there help for women maybe young women with children? The homeless. How do you take care of those who don't have anything? So all of that is, the well-being of a particular smaller geographical area. And in this particular case, you have varied needs because you have various types of people, various income levels. Obviously, with the University of Chicago here, you have a faction that is highly educated, well compensated, similarly in Hyde Park. Conversely, in South Shore, you have a group that's incomes on the other side of the spectrum. Not all of South Shore, but a good faction of it. Great people, though, but they're facing similar issues, but different issues as well.
That's okay. So that makes sense. So some people would say that aldermen, because I feel like Chicago, there's no city like Chicago. If you live in New York, it's not Chicago. If you live in LA, it's not Chicago. If you live in San Fran, it's not. Chicago is unique, right? And aldermen are mini mayors. And so, people who lived here know that Chicago traditionally, it was what I would say the most diverse and segregated city. And it was weird that two things could be true.
It's the most segregated city I've ever seen.
Right. And traditionally how the machine did it was the setup was because they didn't want to create a false sense of inclusion. They basically, everybody had their side. Now, obviously it's not as poignant as it once was. Now, neighborhoods are more mixed and it's not like, one side was just specifically this, but that was the neighborhoods of Chicago, right? And then that fell into the ward, right? And that's how we got 50 different wards, because there were 50 different, basically mini mayors running around up under one mayor, right?
Sure. Exactly.
So if somebody comes to you and says, the problem is we don't need any more aldermen, what do you say to that person?
Well, I could take them to 71st and Jeffrey, and I could show them they'd be fearful for their safety. And I would say, so you think this is okay that you feel like this uncomfortable feeling that you had is warranted? And I would ask them to download Citizens app or some other crime app on their phone. And I would say, let's wait 2 hours and let's see what sort of crimes are happening in this area versus some other areas. And you will see a stark difference. And as I tell people, we're all born the same way. I'd like to think people have the same, at least the right to, live and breathe without fear, or go to school without fear of being, a victim of some tragic, violent act. And in some areas, some people don't have that luxury of being comfortable, walking to school. At 13 or 15-year-old young kid, all he or she should be thinking about is, an education. What am I going to do this weekend? What colleges do I want to go to? Well, that sort of thing. Instead, it's which way should I walk home? Which, is there a gang over here? Who's over here? So it's very different for a lot of folk. And I would challenge them to say, if everyone were living the same, you're right. We wouldn't need that. But that's just not the case.
So how much? That's true. 71st and Jeffries is a rough area. So everybody said, I was like, that's absolutely true. Because that's the beginning of Inglewood.
No, what? Inglewood is further west.
Further west, right. You're right, low end.
But very similar. The results are similar in both areas.
It's this, same church, different view. So so we know that the alderperson takes care of the interest, the financial health, and the public safety health of a specific geographical territory within Chicago, the limitations of the Chicagoland area. That's a lot of power.
Sure.
To have access to budgets, access to police, obviously. I mean, because each ward, I'm sure, is represented by a unit, a district for the police. And some would say, how can two things be true? How can 36 and Cottage, be nice, and 71st and Jeffries be the polar opposite, and they're only 2 miles apart, right, if they're using the same resources? Is it really the alderperson's fault, or is this bigger than that?
Of course it's bigger than that, right?
Okay.
I don't even want to go to the rabbit hole of possible issues of how we got here. Right. Some people will point to, it's improper policing. It's racism. It's, all these things, schools in certain areas not being funded. It's redlining. It's not access to capital for small businesses. Right. I look at it like we're here. Okay. Yeah. But the problem in any of these communities, if you look at a low crime area anywhere in the state, in the world, and a high crime area, what's the differences? Well, the low crime area, think of some places in Chicago. They have local businesses that are thriving. There's the cleaners. There's several places to buy groceries. Because if you want to work in your neighborhood, you can work at there's probably a pet boarding house right next to your house. There's a cleaners right next to your house. There are many, many restaurants all around you. There are jobs in that area. Money is in that neighborhood. And, even those without an education or those people are probably also more educated, which also makes it easier to get a job. Now, look at a high crime area. There's a high amount of unemployment. That's a huge thing. There's a lack of education. There are food deserts. There are businesses that aren't there. So even those who, let's say I don't have a degree in industrial engineering, which I do, and I live in South Shore, so all the South Shore is not that bad. There are no jobs. So if I am a 16, let's say I'm a 16 to 30-year-old male instead of how old I really am, sure, and I have no trade, and I haven't been to college, and there's no place around for me to work.
What's up? I'm super pumped. Just got done with another workout. It's your boy CVMK33. Connect me on Instagram and on the business page at CVMK_global. You know how I get through it. You know how I get that pump look. Best pre-workout on the market. www.cvmkglobal.store.
What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Eat. So I may band together with another group of folks, and we may rob, steal, do whatever we got to do. So, it's lack of opportunity, it's lack of resources, and when I say opportunity, I say economic opportunity.
Right.
Jobs. Now, you're going to get folks who will say, well, Kris, they don't want to work. They don't want this. They don't want that. They're out killing each other. Well, I can say that there are people in this country, when things don't go their way, when they don't have stuff, they act differently. Some people lose, their candidate doesn't win for president. They might tear things up, right? So imagine if all of a sudden you don't have a way to feed your family, there are no jobs around you. Maybe your parents went through the same thing, right? So maybe they were, maybe they never got the therapy they needed. So maybe your childhood was a little, tough. Didn't have the same parenting generations ago. And these things, listen, make no mistake. I don't think they happen by accident, right? But I'm not right about that. I am here because I have been blessed with an education. I was blessed with, two loving parents. My father passed a few years ago. He didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't even curse around us. Heard him curse on a business call every now and then. That's about it. Couldn't raise a voice at a woman. Discipline was, was paramount. Yeah. And there are a lot of, you don't know what you don't know. So there are a lot of young people, especially, they don't know that. My platform, other than, public safety, the second part of it is I try to keep it real simple when I'm explaining to people. Second part is economic development. We talked about that. But you can't have economic development if you got crime. It's hard to get Amazon to come in your backyard because people are getting shot, right? True. And then thirdly, there are a lack of programs and opportunity things for young people. When I was a kid, I played bitty basketball. I played little league baseball from 5 to 17. I took karate at the Park District, cost almost nothing. There were summer camps everywhere. Now, a lot of, and when you got to be a teenager, the city had programs with certain businesses where you actually work, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have those opportunities. So those opportunities meant something. I was fortunate. I interned at IBM for 16 years when I was 16, 17, and 18. Wow. I mean, that puts me well ahead of someone who doesn't have that opportunity. Now, again, I was fortunate enough, I test well, had some great parents, and I learned the value of, okay, even if you're not there yet, you can work to get there. People need role models, right? You need to see what you don't know. There are people right here in South Shore who don't know their way around downtown Chicago. But it takes somebody who is, don't get me wrong. I'm concerned about the world around me as well. I'm a pet owner. I love pets. I'm concerned about people who are of different races, because if I am Alderman, like I said, Hyde Park is one of the most diverse places. So I've talked to not, African Americans. I've talked to a lot of Caucasians. I've talked to some Asians. I've talked to students from the University of Chicago. I've talked to retired people. I've talked to a lot of elderly, and I've talked to a few young folks. I talked to a couple of brothers today. I was petitioning for signatures outside of a grocery store. Brother looked like maybe he might be a gang involved. I'm not going to judge him, but if you're standing next to me, I said, young man, how you doing? Said, I'm running for Alderman. I was like, I'm trying to make some improvements to the area. I was like, are you a registered voter? And believe it or not, he was. I said, look, I want to tell you what I want to do. You tell me if there's something that you haven't heard. Well, and at first I said, what do you think this area needs? First thing he says, man, we need some jobs. He's like, man, you think you can do something? What makes you different? People have been on. I said, well, I can't promise you anything. I said, I'm going to be real honest with you. Day one, unlike a lot of my people who are running against me, who've worked for somebody, been in aid, I'm going to be firmly trying to get no loitering passed as a law. When I was a kid, I could not stand out in front of the arcade or whatever they had, 7-Eleven, with my buddies doing nothing. Yeah, you'd have to move around, and my parents were perfectly good with that. Because what happens is, someone selling drugs or whatever they're doing, standing out, and they only go to where good people go to do commerce, pharmacies, grocery stores, gas stations, right, liquor stores, and if someone comes by shooting at them, who gets shot? People, me and you, right? So that has to stop. Take it off the point. I don't know where you're going, but you got to move away from here. That's short-term
Sure.
that needs to happen to make people feel comfortable. Because when people feel comfortable, they'll spend money, or at least try to spend money in their community, right? So that's the first part. Secondly, we have to bring jobs and opportunities, and that's going to be done. I will be pitching for tax breaks for newer companies, what I call enterprise-sized companies, to come to South Shore, because it is a beautiful area. You have a lot of people moving into it, and I like it. Make no mistake, moving into South Shore who look a lot different, right? The Obama Center is being built, part of South Shore, beautiful golf course being built, state of the art right here in golf course. All I ask, and I've been speaking to, I know the couple of people who are who run that organization.
Sure.
Kris, what do you think? I said, we know a lot of people excited. Property values going up. It's a good thing. But a lot of people, some of those people who haven't gone to college or have a nice job, or place they've called home their whole life, the rents are going up. I've seen this happen in other areas of Chicago.
Yeah.
Gentrification, right?
Yeah, it's a real epidemic.
I've had at least, I think, 4 university professors that I know of moved in this neighborhood in the past year on the South Side in South Shore.
Yeah.
Right?
So when we talk about tackling gentrification, obviously, as you mentioned, any neighborhood, is open to everybody. It's not an issue of who. It's an issue of that this affordity or this luxury comes at the expense of those who were forgotten about, who were denied home loans, low interest rates, good paying jobs. And now you come to revitalize an area and reap the benefits from basically a struggle that you had nothing to do with.
Absolutely.
So how do we tackle that, right? Like how do you create home ownership from existing residents?
First, you demand that anyone who comes into a community becomes a good steward to that community and the people in that community. Right? I distribute wine and spirits, my 9 to 5, right? Yeah. Talking to a liquor store owner, and he's actually donated to the campaign. First things he asked was, Kris, the past alderman, she wants me to tell these people not to sit out in front of the store, man. I said, first off, let me tell you this. I want every business that's here to do better. I said, here's what I see. I walked into that store, saw an African-American woman on lottery. I saw 2 African-Americans working the register. Saw a brother in the back stacking some beer in the cooler. He employed 4 people. The man during that shift. He also told me that he owned land next door and wanted to build. And I said, you know what? I don't think wine and spirits is necessarily the devil or the evil causing this, because I see it in low crime, nice areas.
Right.
Can't just be that. But what I do expect is if you see something, you or your employees, it should be your responsibility to call the authorities, right? A man or woman's first responsibility should be to their family, and I wouldn't want you to get hurt trying to get somebody to move, right? There's some people who live a very different lifestyle that would take pleasure in doing harm to you, so please don't do that. I said, but just as, and I said the same thing to the brother who's executive vice president of civic engagements for the Obama Center, said, it would be nice. You build a state-of-the-art golf course. Okay, it's not necessarily for the people around here, but what if you offered, hypothetical numbers, 50 caddy opportunities to young African-American women and 50 to young African-American men in that area. They give caddy scholarships. It was give them a chance to learn a game that they don't have, make them feel part of this community that you're building, and they would be able to rub elbows with those people who are in different income and tax brackets than them. And do the same for the jobs that are coming in from construction on to the hiring. Include the people in the community. And yeah, I do think in some cases there should be some limitations on some rents for those people, who are being priced out solely for the fact that, somebody came in and decided to triple their rent.
Yeah.
So again, that's a lot to look at. I just believe if you're going to move into an area, you should assist the people of that area.
And I totally agree. I think that, the community or the village is responsible for its well-being, right?
Right.
And I totally think that that's why this needs to be an investment into the internal infrastructures that are already existing. When we talk about, creating that safety, and I know we're running out of time, so I just got a couple more questions. I know we're talking about,
Good stuff. I know you were coming with it like this.
we're talking about.
Oh.
I appreciate it, man. We're talking about, what that investment looks like, right?
Sure.
Because the Alderperson does have the ability to, I can't say they can enforce a rent ceiling, but they can actually not create, but they can section off, like, for commercial real estate development, so many units has to go to affordable housing. And they do have that leverage, right?
Everything is going to have to be approved, and someone's got to
Right.
sign on it, usually the mayor of that city. But
Right.
yeah, you can cheerlead for certain projects that you deem important. And
Right.
there is what I think you do need somebody with a good moral compass. There are 15 aldermen who are all of a sudden retiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't gossip. I don't know why, but it is suspected, but maybe they were being asked, or maybe they were in trouble because they weren't necessarily being the good stewards to the community, and they weren't necessarily acting with their high moral compass. As a public servant, more is expected of you than, somebody's just going to work a regular job for him or herself.
So how do you cheerlead? And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is where it comes back to, I think for the younger generation, there's this feeling that no matter who we get in office, the system cannot be fully changed because it was not designed to work in a certain way, right? So, like, you can cheerlead, yes, for certain projects. You can, like, getting the Obama Center was a huge grab, right? And that was great. At the same time, to say that it's not going to create displacement would be a lie, but it's still a great project. But it comes with things. How do you take your moral compass and say, hey, look, I want the Fifth Ward to be safe. I want it to be a thriving business community, an area where any and everybody can move to and enjoy this high quality piece of life. At the same time, I don't want you to price gouge and make it unaffordable for existing residents. How do you take that aim and actually create policy behind it?
Well, I think I don't think any one person is going. There's no magic bullet. There's no magic pill, and for anybody, right? Okay. But I do think that a person's, we all born with certain talents, right? And I think areas of life. I'm a salesman. I've been successful in that. Seeing or it doesn't have to be a lose or somebody just giving somebody something. It's a win-win,
right?
Like I tell people, if more people had jobs, more money is spent everywhere.
True.
You know what I'm saying? True. So it's in everyone's interest, even with the haves, to help the have-nots. Even if you want to just be a greedier have.
That's true.
you should want violence to be curbed. If you're a gas station owner, you should not want people getting carjacked at your gas station because it takes money out of your pocket.
Right.
So it doesn't. When you explain it to people, the benefits for them, and it doesn't have to be crap all over or keep taking from these folks. But what I do think is there needs to be an investment in people in terms of jobs, in terms of those programs I talked about. This city, and again, I'm new to the political game, this city will tax, this, and then we'll tax that. We'll go back to taxing this. We'll go back to. And I never see the money really get to where it's supposed to go.
Me either. But Steve Harvey said, ain't put a doorknob on it. No.
So my thing is to alleviate that, since some of these folks can't control themselves.
Right.
You give somebody a job, then they have the money to do what they want to do.
Right.
I would much rather see, some of these folks understand it's possible to get a $70,000, $80,000 a year job instead of being satisfied with, but they're so downtrodden. Some people think, well, I'm just going to gonna get this check that they give me. That's what I'm gonna do. And that is not the existence that I think they were meant to have. But yeah, it's no magic bullet. But I do think you can chip away and make the playing field more fair. I do think we can make, at least right now, brother, even some small steps towards alleviating some of this crime will go a long way in morale. Number one, when you feel better, you can do better. True. But a lot of us don't even feel better. We're upset about everything. People walk down the street and barely speak. And these are some of the nicer areas. True. I've had the opportunity now that I've been out. I've been in the Woodlawn area. I've been in the sushi area over here in Woodlawn, and I've been in a Peace Walk on 71st. I've been in an alley known for people doing a lot of drugs. I've been in Hyde Park. I spoke to a few professors. I spoke to a graduate law student. I've been speaking to everybody. Our common theme is crime. They all want to feel safer. And even though those who I think are thinking outside of just themselves recognize that we've done a disservice to some people in our cities. And people can only help themselves. It's going to take people with something to reach down and help somebody, But what you're seeing when you see people, I've heard a lot of people say people don't want something. That's a crab in a barrel mentality, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost sad. But I know that, again, I use, my family story. My father was the oldest of 15, born way down in Mississippi. He never went to college. My mother never went to college, yet they're business owners in Hyde Park. They sent 2 sons to college. I have a degree. So he shined shoes, he worked in stores. He was a butcher. But he told, you work hard, good things will happen. Align yourself with good people. And those are the things that I think our young people don't hear. Because you can get ahead. It's not just your story is not written. You write your story.
That's true.
And I don't think enough people know that. And, at least that's what I'm believing. And I'm believing I can make some change. And like I said, I hang my hat on, I'm outside of all the people jumping out of their hat to run for alderman. Initially I was running against the incumbent. I filed as soon as you could file. Recently she announced her retirement. Now you got 7, 8 people jumping out. One brother even told me, knocked on my door. I said, man, you here now? Let me sign your little signature sheet. He said, man, I had to throw my name in the hat. That's his attitude. Just because there was a vacancy. Well, I was an aide to so-and-so, and I worked on so-and-so's campaign. You just want to be part of the system.
Right.
You want to be the one getting checked. And I think that's horrible. But I think this is a golden opportunity. I know you don't have that much time because they're going to be, for the first time ever, at least 15 new aldermen across the city. And, Caucasian, Black, brown neighborhoods everywhere. And it's a time for us that we can work together, to make it better. It doesn't have to be somebody has everything and somebody has to be living horrible.
That's true.
People just think that's how life has to be. It does not. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I like it. So what are you running as? Are you a Democrat? Are you a Republican? Are you independent? What are you running as?
Listen, if I were Jesus Christ himself, and everybody recognized me as Jesus,
right, and
I ran as an independent here on the south side of Chicago, I, as Jesus, would lose.
I see what you're saying.
I'm running on the Democratic ticket. I jokingly tell people I'm going to win and I'll be there one term because they'll hate me downtown. They'll figure out a way to get me out because I want violent criminals put under the jail. I'm not about, I just don't want to give violent offenders a chance to hurt innocent people. And I'm not willing to put, the droves of innocent men, women, and children at risk because somebody wants to give someone a 5th chance. I think that's stupid. Right. So, and I make no bones about it. Sorry if I rub somebody the wrong way. If somebody sees that is what it is.
Hey, nice. I like it. It is what it is. I like it. I like it. I like it. I agree. I think we need to safety has to be a concern.
Got to be.
It doesn't matter how much money you make if you can't spend it because you're in fear of your life being taken away or being carjacked. So this kind of soft on crime stuff. I don't believe in abuse. I don't believe in police discrimination. I don't believe in targeting peoples. But I do believe wrong is wrong, and I do believe if you act out of line, that's your behind. They're like that's just it rides and it goes. So I agree with you, Kris. If they wanted to reach out to you, they wanted to donate to the campaign because the election isn't until 2023.
Yeah, great question. So in Illinois, we do have the gubernatorial election, which is on Tuesday, November 8th. That is this election. The alderperson election, the aldermanic election, coincides with the mayoral election, and that is February 28th, 2023.
Wow.
That's when the election is. Right now, we're all out gathering signatures. The last day to get petitions is the 28th, so you'll be hearing more about the candidates then. You can reach me. Our name begins with a K, www.Kris, Kris, 4FOR, 5th, the number 5, th.com. That's my site. You can learn all about me there, what my platform is. Sure, you can do a search for Kris Levy, 5th Ward Alderman, on Facebook or IG, and you can find me there.
Y'all connect with them. Website, IG, Facebook, Kris45th.com. Donate to the campaign. If you live into the 5th Ward, go out and vote.
Or if you, like I said, somebody knows somebody to live over here. Listen.
Right. Get out and vote. That's the key to it. You can't complain if you don't vote. Now, get out and vote. Donate. Kris is an amazing candidate. He really has a heart for the people of the 5th Ward and Chicago, and really wants to see change because, like it or not, things will happen with or without your vote. So if you know him, you can reach him. He's already in the neighborhood. He's visible. He's reachable. Connect with him. And connect with your boy also at CVMK_global, CVMK33 on Instagram, YouTube. You know what you got to do. Like, share, subscribe, comment, CV space K, TikTok, CVMK Global. And until next time, guys, thanks. The best podcast on the planet on Patreon, Apple, Anchor, wherever you listen to your podcast, Google, Spreaker, it's there. Subscribe, like, share, comment today. And make sure you support your boy at CV space K. Subscribe today. It is what it is podcast. Till next time, guys. Thanks.